From the front line in Indian Army to the frontiers in green energy, Colonel Rohit Dev has been a soldier, a senior leader. Today, he is the Managing Director of Reveille Energy. He is also a senior leader at the Indian Federation of Green Energy. He is on a mission to intervene at policy level for national energy sufficiency in terms of bioenergy. We'll hear him speak about the green energy revolution that's happening in India. This is the ChiniMandi podcast. I'm your host, Sriram. Welcome, sir. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So let's begin with India's energy self-reliance, the roadmap towards self-reliance, right? So we talk about Amrit Kal, Viksit Bharat by 2047. How important is bioenergy for our energy independence?
See, Shri, I think it comes from the grassroots level. Bioenergy, by the word and by the implication, is a farm to factory connect. And moment you have any ecosystem designed around the rural belt, it becomes a very intrinsic part of your growth story. So unless India is able to connect the rural belt, make it more economically developed, the lifestyle to be enhanced, the farmers to generate incomes, and undergo a paradigm change in the way the village lives. I think in that aspect, bioenergy is one of the keys as an energy source to develop, because A, it is going to affect a lot of livelihoods, millions and millions of them. It's going to also utilize a natural resource, which is agricultural waste or any waste in the forest area or farmland or wasted land through plantation or otherwise. It's going to benefit the overall setup of India's needs. And my guess is that by not even 2047, because we have put a self kind of a mission of 2070 net zero.
Okay.
I think in that capacity, with a population of about 1.85 billion by that time, we are looking at bioenergy to contribute nearly 15 to 25% of the energy bouquet, which is more self-reliant. It also offsets the requirement of fossil fuel for those industries and biofuels, and basically saves cost to the exchequer as well. So I think in the overall planning, India will do well to harness this resource, because today, by all parameters of evaluation, we're looking at 250 million metric tons, which the ministry says itself, but that's only on the basic crops.
250
million
MMT
metric
of
tons
which one?
Of all feedstock,
Right, all
as available and usable, but that's not covering all the agricultural waste. That's only the major crops.
So these are the
11
crops
of
and
them.
grains, not the
Yes,
waste.
not the other, not even all the crops.
Okay.
Right. So when you put that into play, you're looking at a nearly 1,750 million metric ton of the industry, of which we hardly do anything. We hardly do 15-20 million metric tons today on paper, because while projects have come up, they're not working on full capacity. So I think overall, what the question is about, that bioenergy is going to play a pivotal role in rural transformation, energy self-reliance, and also contribute a sizable chunk into the overall energy needs of this country, whether it be industrial or domestic.
Right.
So I think from that perspective, it's very important to develop this.
And how does it segue into existing renewable, right? If not exactly bioenergy, let's say there's green hydrogen, there is CNG, CBG, all those. So how does it fit into all the other renewable and green?
So when you see the overall canvas of bioenergy space, it's not limited to, say, any one.
Right.
So it goes into three major pathways. The first pathway is the boiler industry, where a reasonable demand has been created by the PSU and TPC, right? So it's into motion, so offtake is guaranteed. Technology has proven that you can blend that much. So solid fuel basis, it is going there. Also on the solid fuel basis, you have other boilers as well, the FMCG boilers and other boilers, which use the same biomass to replace fossil fuel. So that this one pathway has picked up well. The entire value chain of having densification plants, having supply chain going, warehousing, insurance is picking up. The only problem is that the upstream part remains a challenge for not only this segment, but also the other segment of biofuels. So when do you go to biofuels, whether you're making bio-CNG or you in the future make bio-LNG or green hydrogen, all these buckets, including ethanol and SAF, because they're going to be the big chunks to actually offtake the biomass in the future, because these projects are at scale in terms of the utilization. They will utilize about maybe 300,000 on average metric tons of biomass each annually. So I think those are the avenues where you want to utilize. And the last but not the least is, which is like a miscellaneous. You can make furniture, particle boards, packaging
Right,
material,
right.
things like that. So I think overall, if you see the biomass quotient of the bioenergy, when you calculate the boilers, the biofuel, and the biomaterials, actually is quite a scalable proposition for India. And only the only issue here is that every a pathway is being led by technology or other parameters. Whereas I think if it is created more into a homogeneous aspect as per the upstream is concerned,
Right.
you'll be able to develop it better. So currently the model is that you are putting up a factory and you're looking at biomass as a shopkeeper. But the other way around, if you look at the community development first, and you actually strengthen the upstream part with biomass supply chain, logistics, and warehousing, and put the money there, if that is scaled up better, it will be able to support all these pathways in a
Right.
more sustainable and economical way as well.
So they say if you pour a few drops of water to the root,
Right.
that goes to the leaf and the seed and everything, as opposed to pouring on the, if you want more fruits, you don't pour water on the fruit, right?
Yes, you have to
So-
put the roots.
Yeah.
So obviously the base has to be
Yeah.
stronger.
So upstream is where the
base is, yeah.
base is. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Sir, for India, our bioenergy is more about grassroots level sufficiency and rural economy,
Right.
the community development, or is it much more macro, like reducing fuel import, fossil fuel import?
No, so it
where is the core?
See, the core is only two things, and then the mathematics comes around it.
Right.
The first core is that how self-reliant are you for your energy needs, right? Instead of
So it
picking
starts at a macro level.
macro level. So obviously, if you were to be more self-reliant, it helps the country in the long run. Otherwise, you'll be only importing and basing your growth on new technologies whose IPR you don't hold, and technology is not with you. It's expensive. That's the first part. The second part is that renewable sector is growing. So bioenergy is one big pathway beyond solar, wind, hydel, geothermal. This is a pathway. This pathway has to be strengthened because A, it supports a huge chunk of the rural economy itself. Right? So India is an agrarian state,
Right.
and I'll tell you the problem. The problem is the migration rate of our country from rural to urban today. I mean, you can check on Google, but I'm quite sure it's more than 4%, 4.2, 4.3% annually, which is a huge rate of influx from rural migration towards urban centers. You don't want that to happen. The
Right.
urban
It
centers
impacts
are
both.
both ways, right?
Yes.
So that is one part. Second is, look at the rural segment of, say, an Australia, a New Zealand, a Canada, or maybe even US. Now, it is so-called rural, but the rural community is very well developed. Not only is the per capita income better, but also the lifestyle of those, societal, hutments are better than what we have in a rural space. So the real challenge is to improving that. Once you improve that, if you have progressive farmers, today also you have many progressive farmers, they are the ones who are able to actually plan and set up these bioenergy, projects on their own. So if some progressive farmers can do, and if the government and the ecosystem were to enable the upstream through the farmers, you will have a more solidified base for India's bioenergy growth in the future. So I think in that sense, if I see the bouquet, I see solar to be perennial. So it also depends on how many acreages of land you use. Globally, you say if you use 1.5%, you can, current population of Earth, you can suffice for energy needs.
Right.
And that's not only me or Grok saying, it's the general science which says that. But when you see other aspects like nuclear, they're also very sustainable.
Right.
Right? Aspects like bioenergy, because it's an offshoot of agricultural sector, the waste is guaranteed. Even if you sow, the crop may not come up because of any climatic conditions, but the waste will come out still. Right?
Right. Yeah.
So that component is an assured component. So when you go to wasted lands in the country, you map the wasted lands and you say 15-20% of that wasted land will be for energy plantation, intermediate crops, things like that. You're going to have much more biomass available for your energy needs.
Right.
So whether it's transport sector or hard to abate sectors, or it's regular industry and domestic use, piped gas lines, green hydrogen for whatever use you are currently envisaging, I think it's a component which cannot be ignored, which should not be ignored. And especially I'll tell you from a point of strength, Since India is an agrarian state and biomass can suffice for approximately 15 to 25% of 2070 needs, it better be developed to that scale.
Right.
Otherwise, what will happen is, if you don't develop this, you will take on technologies at some cost which are exorbitant for yourself. Plus, biomass also gets into play a lot of things like blended fuel, burning in boilers, no SOx, no NOx. I will not say 0%, but much lesser than normal fuels. So it is also a good benefit for utilization in health and environment aspects as well. So health is a tick, your environment is a tick, your SDG norms are a huge
course,
tick,
yeah.
and in any which case, finally, whether you say macro level or micro level, economy comes in both sides, macro and microeconomics. So while you're developing the macroeconomic strength of the country, macroeconomics wise, you are saving a lot of cost to the exchequer as well.
Right.
So that much cost is going to go down in terms of import of fuels as well. And no matter if we find whatever in Lakshadweep or Andaman Nicobar or any littoral state, we should still have a cap on how much can we be self-reliant in the future.
Right.
And I think that's what any government should look at. And
I'm optimistic, sir. In fact, I read about non-arable land in some parts of Rajasthan, where now they are cultivating Napier grass,
Right.
and that Napier grass is used as a feedstock or a biomass for bioenergy production.
Right.
So even we don't even have to take away arable land from a farmer who's producing food for us, right? We can even take a non-arable land.
Right.
In fact, even the story of bamboo-based ethanol also builds into it, right?
So I agree with you, because you see, it's not about the farmer's land, and it's not a debate about food versus fuel, right? Unless you are picking up grains for fuel, grain-based fuel systems, the equation is not there for the waste part at least.
Right.
Most of the government planning is towards the waste part, whether you see second generation ethanol, whether you see SF, whether you see green hydrogen, whether you see CBG, that's the route, right? And in any which case, the land mass which you are looking at is usable land mass, currently not under cultivation.
Right.
So if you take your flight back today from here to Mumbai, you will see a lot of land which is cultivable, but it's not cultivated yet.
Okay.
So it is not for the farmer's land to be taken off. It is for those wasted lands to be taken up in a bigger way by larger corporates for kind of a commercial farming aspect. That is where the energy plantation,
Of course,
intermediate
but
crops
land
should
reforms
come
in
up.
India has to.
It is a state
It should be a
subject.
precursor. Yes.
It's a state subject. Every state has got a different policy. So I think that's where the unison is required in policy advocacy. And once you can see that entire land mass as something which is yours to be used for future, and you allocate some percentage for bioenergy, I think that's where you make the difference for a large scale implementation of these bioenergy projects as well. Because today, ironically, the boiler segment has taken off. It took off much before NTPC. So the private sector was already doing it. Global OMCs, Indian OMCs are under mandate for becoming more green. So they were refusing the fossil fuel and transforming the entire system of boilers into a non-fossil based, biomass based. NTPC has stepped up. But in the biofuel segment, 5,000 LOIs for a certain scheme, and that's phase one of India. But still, we are very slow in our implementation. The first 3-4 years were very sluggish, if one may use that term. But now you on the horizon have about 300 plants which are being set up as we speak. And I visualize in next 5 years, we will have 1,000 more plants, at least, which are already committed by the PSUs and in the JVs with the private sector. That's the current commitment. The commitment may rise in the future as well, but as we speak, about 1,000 plants are in the making for next 5 years. So that's also less. When you see ethanol story, 11 plus 2 on gasification, so 11 were biomass based. We have had one Panipat, we have one Numarigal refinery on bamboo, but still that scale has not come up in terms of capacity of these plants itself. That's one. And B,
so on that, is that the availability of feedstock or operational efficiency?
No, it's many things.
Okay.
So one is technology as well, because no names, but you understand why the Bhatinda plant couldn't take off. It was because of a technology issue, and then they had to go around that circumvention route to find out a pathway for Bhatinda to work thereafter for ethanol. But in most cases, when you get back, it's the upstream issue. So it's the supply chain, sustainable supply chain of feedstock. And I can only make a comment to say that, the upstream part doesn't come so easy.
Right.
The process is known to many. The problem is that when you get to a level of a private sector entity or a joint venture with a private and a PSU, at most of the times you're looking at your profitability from that particular business. And what happens there is that you issue tenders, for example, right? And then you have reverse bidding as well these days. So you're actually trying to optimize only the feedstock cost, right? And that is the problem is, because you see NTPC, you see any other PSU, and let me tell through your, this interview, that when you go ahead, your process cost only increases in the future unless you optimize the technology. With the same technology, the cost on a Y-on-Y basis will always increase. The cost of crude will increase. So logically, your cost of transportation, your downstream, everything will increase, right? Your salaries will increase. So midstream will increase as fixed cost and also as operating expenses. But what's happening? The entire weight of optimization is being put on the upstream by taking out such tenders. And with competitive or complementary utilization of biomass, what's happening is that you today can get it at 3 rupees, 4 rupees, but if somebody else comes and gives 10 paisa more, it goes that side. So if your overall bouquet in that geography for a 50,000 aggregation is say about 6 lakh tons, and slowly if other industries keep coming up and keep using the same biomass, there will be a point of time where your 50,000 tons will also become scarce because of the price competitiveness. And unfortunately, all of the industry wants to marginalize the feedstock cost. And the problem is, feedstock is owned by the farmers. Right? If they were to get together and make consortiums to run the business, I think it will be easier. And they should be a part as a stakeholder in this entire journey.
Cooperative style.
As a cooperative style, or maybe as a partner. So not even fully cooperative, but as a partner, because they should also understand that the input of their biomass is finally giving an output which has got much more scalability in terms of volumes of business and also getting them the profits into their pockets. So just to give you a layman thing, for example, hypothetically, you get say from a farmer at 1 rupees some feedstock, cotton or whatever, and that feedstock, today you are trying to optimize the cost. So you are bargaining with the farmer itself. Don't bargain. So you say, okay, I'll give you 1 rupee here for per kg. But when I produced A, B, C derivative or a final product where I'm going to get little more profit, right? For example, you see the value chain of second generation ethanol. In the intermediaries and the final product, there are so many products which have got other end uses.
Like
so you can
DDGS,
set up
something as simple as a DDGS.
So when you get those profits, you plow back a portion of that money
back
to the same community. So unless you interact and get this community as a stakeholder, this shopkeeper buyer seller model, opening few apps and portals and trying to sell biomass is working today. It's not going to work unless you go to the grassroots level. So many of these portal people also have realized over the years, simply creating a portal for trade is not going to, it's not like a coal trade or a crude trail with the delineation being defined by foreign agencies. It's more inherent to the Indian ecosystem. So you'll have to go to the ecosystem to create it first, and then you can advance yourself into any other mode of.
It's a little strange that the grassroots level of bioenergy is actually in the upstream. The words don't match, but that's what seems to be the case.
That's what it is. You see,
because usually upstream in a software industry is very different.
Right. So any industry. So if you want to make a nice, Crocs sandal or whatever it's called, that small bulb comes from anywhere in Thailand to anywhere in China, and you can come to the industry. You have mapped the requirement of that shoe in the country or globally. So obviously the curve of growth is like this, and this is just a small input. The cost, the lead time, the supply chain, everything is defined. In bioenergy sector, the upstream is unstructured. And there are various kinds of players. I'll give you an example of what happened in Punjab before the farmer protest, right? We had penalties imposed on farmers to burn the feedstock, right? So farmer was very wary. So anybody who went there with his machine, farmer said, okay, for 1 acre, I will give you 300 rupees, 500 rupees for clearing my field and taking off this biomass. So he was paying the other side. So if somebody were to make a financial model or business model based on that, 500 being coming from the farmer's side, will that work in the future? The answer is no. So you'll have to be true to the process, right? And then what happened is that when the farmer protest, grew more, somebody came from, country called Canada, NRI, and he saw, the waste has got money now. So he tried to be intelligent and created one WhatsApp group and put everybody into a Balers Association in Punjab. So the cost of the paddy straw delivered to or whatever at gate from 1200 went to 1600, whichever way you looked at it. So 400 rupees increase in just one season. Imagine if you had set up ethanol plant or a bigger SAF plant based on some costing, and that cost went up just because of some whimsical creation of pain in the industry by somebody by 400 rupees. How will that industry survive?
Right.
So I think that is the reason there are so many imponderables that you need to stitch a holistic stakeholder partnership kind of a model. So instead of a triple P model, you got to add one more P, which is the 4P model. Fourth P is the people first,
Right.
right? And the people can start the process of the triple P actually. And that's the way you need to look at it. You need to invest in a similar fashion. You need to have awareness campaigns in a similar fashion. Because the other side also, the flip is also true, that in certain geographies, because industry comes up, the prices of feedstock rise because people get a little greedy at times as well. But the greed part, let me tell you, is only 1 or 2% in farmers. Balance of 90-95% of the greed comes from the middlemen who are controlling those ecosystems. So the threat to the bioenergy is similar to the food chain.
Right. No,
Right.
it has happened in coffee, it has happened in cocoa, it has
Right.
happened in diamond in the past.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even in the food chain,
Yeah.
what you vegetables you get from the
Right.
farmers.
Yeah.
In Delhi, if you are eating it for 100 rupees per kg, the farmer is not getting more than 1 or 2 rupees, 3 rupees, 5 rupees at best.
Right.
Balance is the ecosystem. So if you allow an ecosystem to be created for the waste part, it's got a tremendous problem with the energy sector thereafter. So you need to make sure it is a direct triple P plus P kind of a
Right.
model rather than getting a middleman in between. Even if you see companies, let me tell you the math. Say if I start a company with supply chain, running a company has got its own gross margins.
Yeah.
No company works less than 30, 35, 40% of gross margins
Right.
in the planning stage. What does it mean? That right from the logistic part, taking that extra delta, to warehousing taking a delta, to any other element, the delta part substantially increases.
Mhm.
So if something could be delivered at say 3 rupees, it now takes 4.5 rupees, right? At whose cost? At the project cost, right? So you need to be very, very sure that if the same project player, whether a global MNC or a PSU or a big conglomerate in India, were to set up their own systems directly with the farmers, I think A, there is a assurance which increases, and B, the cost part goes down considerably over a long-term tenure. See the sugar industry. Does the sugar industry have to do anything? The ecosystem has been so developed and so long based now that everything comes to your
Right.
sugar mill on its own. It's an ecosystem. If you now say, if you tie up for a press mud with some CBG plant, that ecosystem, if you have tied, it's also developed. If from there the FOM, LFOM has to come back to some field, again it can be developed. So the same ecosystem of farmers is working in three, value chains now to create wealth and whatever they can
Are
do.
there some global examples or inspirations that you can draw? Has any country done any of these things?
No, Brazil.
Brazil,
I
yeah.
mean,
So what can we learn from Brazil?
everybody says Brazil, so
Yeah.
I'll also say Brazil to start with. But then not only Brazil,
Yeah.
Brazil is in the business of ethanol,
Right.
which is good. But you have other examples in Germany and Netherlands of other bioenergy, which is primarily in the gas segment.
Right.
And also this densification of briquettes and pellets, basically pellets being used in the steel industry in Japan, but they don't make it. It comes from continental US.
Okay.
It's an import item, and so is for the power sector in Europe.
No, in
So I
terms
think
of upstream optimization or not letting a
so
middleman or
upstream.
a
See, why is
small
Brazil
body
successful?
control the
Brazil
price.
is successful because the farmers through Unica play that role, right? So it's something like that sugar industry model at a larger scale. It has been worked upon. India, the problem is the farmers got very small land holdings. There is no defined association. So unless a FPO steps up and takes on the mantle to do this through the farmers, there are difficulties
Right, because there
in
are
our
too many
ecosystem.
voices or
Too many voices,
yeah.
and land parcels are also like that only. For
Yeah.
example,
Average is 2 acre
average
of land
is average is much lesser
ownership,
actually.
so-
But when you see it comparative to say New Zealand or Australia or even US, those parcels are different.
Right.
The only good part is that in India, you are still able to communicate very directly because all the political matching actually happens to the rural belt. So if the political bandwidth or the decision making is little more robust, it focuses on creation of these value and ecosystems in the villages, things will happen. Because finally the same people who are going to give you this biomass are the same people who are greatly influencing the politics of this country as well.
Right.
So I think it's a deeper connect which needs to be stitched in terms of ecosystems and money being put there. So the more money you put, I mean, it's quite surprising to find many bigger companies also currently in the shopkeeper model, with nobody investing into the upstream. They expect somebody else to do that job.
It's a vendor. Some vendor will find.
It's a vendor will find. So, but the problem is when a farmer goes to the bank, and there are many schemes of ministries and including agri infra fund. You may have read about it. All these funds have got a lot of things to be given for the value chain, albeit not in a cogent full value chain format, but little broken down into pieces. But do farmers get access to that?
Right.
Farmers don't even get access to a bank DGM to discuss the proposition. So I think that is where the disconnect is. So others can step in, entrepreneurs can come in who are more educated, bigger companies can come in. But the problem is you need to develop the system at the grassroots level. So even if you're opening, say for example, a 50,000 CBG plant and you're going to aggregate that much of thing, you need about maybe 1.75 or whatever million USD worth of these assets of post-harvest. Actually, the company should own it. If you actually own the asset, isn't it easier for you to go to the farmer and say, you have to do nothing?
No, the asset is the land?
No, the asset is post-harvest equipment.
Okay.
Land is the farmers, right? So say if you were a company who has got machinery to aggregate an entire 50,000 feedstock, and you earmark those farmlands.
You lend those or you give the subsidy.
You lend those or you use your own people to offtake from the
easy
ground.
for you to get the feedstock.
Easier for you to get. So your risk is mitigated. Which is a very, very big thing for large scale products.
The feedstock supply.
And it comes to you. And if you bought those machines, you can use it in different geography.
Yeah, it has multiple utilities.
Subsequent number of months you are left within the year, you can use it. So you will have to define such models. I'm not saying this is the best model, but I'm saying at least some ownership of the process in the upstream has to be taken by the project developer.
Right. So talking of macro, just a brief point. Are there any tangible examples where we have reduced fossil dependency or import dependency based on bioenergy? Ethanol, I know, is one.
No, you have. So very silently, a segment which has not come to the fore is the boiler industry, which needs steam, process steam, right? So those boilers were using various derivatives of diesel and other fuel, which were going into the boilers. Most of them have converted. And when I say most, it doesn't mean the majority. When I say most, it means the most who have announced those, GHG emission norms for themselves and put a pathway for decarbonization. Those companies have done a stupendous job. So whether they're global or Indian, no names, but they have done a good job to replace fossil fuel directly.
Nice.
At the cost of doing a changeover of the feeding system of the boilers.
The heat exchanges or the heat needed for the boilers are now coming from renewable energy or bioenergy.
Most boilers. Right. NTPC is playing a small part. So while NTPC is publicly more, focused and it's known, but NTPC does not consume the largest volume. The largest volume of actually densified biomass or the solid biomass goes into the same boilers, non-NTPC, at a much greater quantum and scale compared to NTPC today. That's one. CBG has now taken off. It's a conversion mechanism, so it's not replacing any fuel, but maximum replacement is in this sector. You will also see the blending portion, which has been mandated by the government, 20% we have done. So blending is offsetting the crude. It is not going to replace completely, unless you go to 100% ethanol someday. And
no, as much as 1 trillion rupees in forex.
Absolutely. Yeah. So money-wise, I don't think so. We are on a path of any saturation, because with each passing quarter, you are hearing of some other project taking on either the blended route or a full replacement route in terms of the energy sector. And I think this is good for India. But the silent player is not mapped.
Right.
So while I say a lot of boilers are doing it, you see any report of the government of India, it's not mapped.
Right. So with all this momentum, whatever it is, the green shoots momentum, how much of waste are we creating to any wealth valorization fuel now? Of all the waste that's available to us, agri waste, municipal waste, any waste.
So municipal waste is going into a few projects, mostly in the biofuel segment. Right. There are technologies to see that waste going into even densification, but because of the chemical composition of that input, it has not been accepted well by the boilers in terms of ash.
That's an issue of segregation, right?
Segregation.
So you get municipal waste.
So segregation is a big money requirement there itself, right? So for using it very specifically for, say, densification, does it make sense to put that money into segregation first?
Right.
is the question. But does it make for biofuel conversion? The answer is yes.
So
So
I
it
was
also
told
depends.
differently in the past that, for example, a municipal corporation that is looking at the tender for
MSW.
somebody to collect
Right.
municipal waste, they operate on their own terms, and they have been doing so.
Right.
Their job is, okay, pick it up, dump it here.
Right.
At that level itself, if segregation becomes a norm,
So they're doing. So you see many examples right from Indore to Goa.
right?
There are many of these plants which ab initio segregate and then the end user is defined. But I am saying as per the process, it's much more financially viable proposition for the biofuel segment.
Okay, so you
Right.
take it as it is, then you segregate it.
So they are segregating in situ as well. They are segregating. There are machines, portable machines. There are plants being set up in various cities as well to segregate this. So the waste is getting segregated. I am talking about the fuel which are for densification only.
Right.
So for doing densification, for example, if you heard a contract of NTPC 3.5 years back, so torrefaction was the buzzword, right? And they also said that in the pellet, the particle size should be 1 to 2 mm.
Okay.
Right? It was a QR. Right. It was mentioned in the tender. Now, not realizing that to break down a biomass to that particle size,
It's like a sesame, yeah. Very
so also takes a hammer action, which costs money and electricity.
It's more
So,
carbon intensive.
so it is just to say that after doing a process, you are adding good value, but what is the affordability of that value in which pathway you use is the discriminator. It's not about that you can't do it. You can do it. People are doing it. But to take it off in that fashion to be used for a briquette pellet, that's not the requirement because the industry at a particular scale can use the current biomass directly. So that's the form factor, which you require.
So, it's just a side note. The carbon intensity can't be more than the carbon you save using a biofuel can't be even spent already.
Obviously,
Right?
it's a process equation. So you can't say that I've achieved something, but it's
which was already spent. It's pre-spent.
It's something like even if you are doing a fuel or a energy transition, but say the process utilization of the electricity is very high, and that electricity is not coming from any renewable source.
Right. So it's solving no problem.
So it's just simply that.
Right.
So obviously that's why people are harping upon the scope 2, scope 3 of your processes these days. Right? They want you to change that as well. Right. So if scope 2 and 3 is high consumption of fossil fuels, it doesn't make sense.
Solving no problem. Yeah.
No, it is solving a problem in a sense, but then it's not mitigating the entire value chain completely of your emissions. Yeah.
What are some of the effective policies in play today?
Oh, there are good policies. So coming up with, say, the MNRE and MOPNG and Agricultural Ministry as well. A lot of policies have come to force. So, for example, there's a waste to energy policy, which is driving a lot of these municipal waste and everything else to be converted to some energy. There's a policy on densification, which is catering to subsidies and for your machinery basically for briquetting and pelleting, and then there's process on CBG as well. There is a BAM policy which is now looking at the supply chain insofar as CBG is concerned from the MOPNG side. Then Agri Infra Fund has also got policies including making custom hiring centers as well. So just for example to elaborate on this last one, others are basically known to many, but this CHC is something like a drive in the upstream part. So it allows you to create
so there are policies to work on the upstream part.
So assets.
Right.
So you can create assets with it. So you can say in a mustard aggregation zone, you can buy these machines for which 10% is your money, which is equitable to the land you hold. So farmers hold land, so they don't have to actually put in more money. 70% comes as a grant from the central government and 20% from the state government. So these things and sets are there. And if you ask some banker that how many such sets can one composition of a company do, so I think they allow you about 20 depending on your implementation process complete. So I think these are very good positive stories. But today MNRE for one is at the back end working on a policy which is more comprehensive and aligned even to the upstream part. Even Niti Aayog is doing has constituted a committee. They're also looking at both facets, growth of the bioenergy part, but also the upstream part. So I think today we understand that we need to put a lot of money into the upstream to be able to make a success story of the 3 pathways of bioenergy. So I think that way it's a very good effort. The only thing which a lot of people in the industry talk about is the so-called lack of centralized kind of a
So there's some bottlenecks
leadership.
there. Okay.
Right. So when you are looking at, say, bioenergy, some ministry is looking at, like power ministry is looking at NTPC.
Right.
It's the solid biofuel, biomass. Then there's CBG and ethanol happening under the MOPNG.
Right.
Everything also affects the environment and health as well. So you see this, there are a lot of cross functions. But when it comes to an overarching policy, there is no authorized nodal agency which controls the entire system. So it's not at the apex level that you do that.
Isn't there a PM office doing that?
No, PM office is doing that in principle.
Right.
So now even in skilling sector, they have taken the lead. They have dedicated it to MNRA and others to look at it very closely. But what I'm saying is, as a SECI you have in solar energy, there is no Becky in the bioenergy currently. Right. So SECI is there.
Yeah.
But I think if we can actually streamline the organogram.
You think some apex industry bodies could help? Like, in technology we have IAMAI.
Right. So
Internet and Mobile Association.
Technology wise, you see, is a different thing. So there are many associations in this country.
No, it's
like,
industry created.
So industry created, like Indian Biogas Association is there.
Right,
Indian Federation for Green Energy is there. ISMA is there today because ISMA has also got a subset of bioenergy attached to it now completely. It's a major player. So these associations are good to connect us, the growth B2B, G2B, those models. But surely at the governmental level, there has to be an organogram or a structure which looks at it more holistically, so that it's not only at the macro level, but the implementation at the macro level, better synergy. So there have been opportunities where secretaries of 8-10 ministries have gotten together in the past, but a structured format has still not emerged to drive the bioenergy part.
Right.
So has been the case in solar. Through SECI, everything has been controlled, while every ministry has got its shareholding in terms of their voice. They connect to the industrial associations, then they connect to the industry itself. In the similar fashion, it's being happening. But then, say, an association like ours, IFG or IBA, where I belong to both, we have issues where we deal with separate ministries separately as well. While we may be writing a representation on a common note, but then you have to go and talk to everybody. Right. So it is that format. Yeah. So I'm not saying it is currently in any limbo, because one thing is for sure that the ministry is very proactive. So if you have a sensible idea for the industry and you can structure and put it to paper, they're willing to have a look at it. So there are a lot of stakeholder engagements. These days they want to directly talk to the industry as well. So associations like ours also help them to connect to the industry for feedback purpose or direct interaction. So we keep helping them as well. So I think that's a positive.
That's good. That's great.
That's a positive.
Sir, we now have the GBA, Global Biofuel Alliance. Is that symbolic or substantiative? Where do we stand? What is happening?
See, when it was announced in G20, I remember writing an article that evening. An article was picked up by MEA the other day as well for some inputs. But now there are many queries which come globally to me personally as well, and also as association, which ask us about what is GBA doing, right? In fact, CEW and the Embassy of Brazil day before had a focused interaction, and GBA was on the table on a proper panel itself.
Yeah,
right?
Recall
now,
that,
now the point is, GBA has been announced. There are objectives set forth, but if people from outside are asking people inside here that what's GBA doing, we don't have a very clear answer of the implementation part. So nothing has come to fore which talks about anything which is substantially.
What is it? Is it a think tank?
So no.
Like, let's say, is it a Niti Ayog of bioenergy?
It's a global institution as it's been structured.
So is it like a World Trade Organization?
It has been structured on similar lines like a ISA or a CDRI, which has got more global reach, right? CDRI is in resilience, ISA is in solar. So somewhere around there, GBA has been formed to talk about best practices, exchange.
So it's knowledge hub.
Knowledge hub. Connect people, get minilaterals of various governments to work on projects in bioenergy, but not as project, but as policy advocacy around that entire mantle. So I think it's more macro at level. I would only recommend that GBA should seriously look at the Indian context to start with, because it has originated here. Good partnerships with Brazil are happening. With even US was happening before this. We had a good say with other countries, including some Middle Eastern countries as well. But the prominence of our own associations like an ISMA or maybe a IFG or a IBA, they are not there, right? So if you see 9 plus 14 people up around the other members, there are associations who are global in nature, but you don't see Indian faces there. And my thought is that anything in this segment of Global Biofuel Alliance, much of the money, much of the process, and much of the learnings will come up through the scale up of the Indian story, right? Which will finally, in the next 4 or 5 years,
if you could do it here, you could do it anywhere else.
So, and the replication is the global south.
Right.
There's a direct replication model from what is happening in India.
Yeah, UPI example.
So whatever is going to happen here, that means you need more voices within the GBA being highlighted. So I would just recommend that even if they can't have structures around globally to include so many Indian associations and people, they should create chapters within India, led within India, and they should have those inputs delivered. Or they should have some composition in the organogram I was talking about, where they also fit in somewhere, because they are just global biofuel. So they can have an adjunct into this key organization,
right,
which is developed from the level of maybe MNRE or some nodal agency should take that leadership, whether led by PMO or Niti Aayog is a different issue, but the actual implementation leadership, and that should come down and they should get an attachment to the GBA.
Very well.
But the GBA has to, I think, announce itself now.
Yeah.
Right, because GBA has been generally being quiet for the.
It's a poster initiative, but we need to.
It's a great initiative.
Right.
When it was announced, it was floating at the macro level.
Yeah.
But today you have efficacy of GBA going till deep grassroots micro level implementation projects, G2G type. For example, if Brazil and India were to share the knowledge, have the best practices, and do something here, so obviously the next best could be that their technical technology players, the bigger ones like Rise and others, some global OMCs, some Indian stories of maybe a good company or a PSU can join hands. So GBA can get those stitches done.
Of course.
So GBA is an enabler, and in that model, it needs to be a little more voiceful and seen around. For example, GBA has got a few officios in international cooperation, cells within the ministry, but you don't find those voices coming to public platforms. Right. They should be actually on public platform and talking about where to take
the art of possible, what can be done and what they are doing.
So it's more like what people say, this Ukrainian term you can use, coalition of the willing, or coalition of the doers, if you may call them. So there are many countries who are floating around the biofuel journey, and GBA is the stitch, but GBA needs to put it into action now.
Right. Sir, if you are India's Prime Minister or Energy Minister for a day.
No question.
No question?
No question.
Let's say you have such powers vested upon you.
Right.
What is the one policy change you will do in terms of bioenergy?
Yeah, there are many, but the first one I'll do is I'll introduce a bill in the Parliament to make sure that energy security is in the union list and it's taken off from the federal list of the states.
Make it a national priority.
So national priority, because I said with a lot of conviction, defense works in India because it's in the union subject, right? So you can take a land, make sure that it is valid. No state can say anything about it.
Yeah.
It's a union national land.
Yeah.
Energy actually is much more important. We are not realizing it, because from the last 7-8 decades here, we have grown on buying. Same was for defense. We were only buying, right? The slogan of Atmanirbhar Bharat has come in now.
Yeah.
And still baby steps while we are exporting defense structures to about 100 plus countries. But it's not, all is not true military niche hardware. Few of it is, but most is the other military hardware and systems. Similarly, the energy sector is very, very important, because
we are very comfortable buying right now. So, I mean, only in the last couple of years.
You could be comfortable buying. But the problem is, for example, and I keep hearing this as an adjunct, is say exports of energy sector. So if you were to make a nice LNG hub along a coastal belt, create a lot of LNG, have that LNG used by India wherever you wanted to, and then export the surplus, does it make sense? The answer is yes, right? But if I were to say that you can pledge 8 million tons, 20 million tons today through a contract to Europe for their power needs or Japan for their steel industry needs in terms of pellets. There will be many takers who will come to India to manufacture it and you will sell it abroad and you will pledge it like a PPA type model to those countries for 20, 30 years, right? But in the next 45 years, you are doing a transition. So today the parali is a pain, but parali is a useful commodity for a lot of biofuels, right? Biomass basically. Biomass is a pain today, burning, but biomass is the next fruit for energy transition. Yeah. But when you reach 2065, you will realize that most of the biomass is going out, right? Why? Because that route of pelletization is so lucrative that it goes and sells 8 times, 5 times the cost it is being sold in India into these 2 continents or countries. What happens now? So in 2070, where biomass, this pathway, not the biofuel pathway, this pathway could have done an energy transition value of 10 to 15%, the entire industry running on this probably, you will not have that. When you don't have that, you have an energy deficit. To fulfill that deficit, you will take one more pathway. Right. 100% that pathway is going to be costlier than this that time. Because by economies of scale, this would have developed to a structure where this much more. And
you are starting something new. Or,
and then that technology is not yours. Then you are paying, more money. Then you are dependent more. Why are you trying to create this situation?
This is, in fact, since you mentioned the defense contract, I think there was an op-ed in Mint 2 days ago from Michael Bloomberg.
Right.
He was saying it's very uncanny that US soldiers or army people cannot fix if their equipments malfunction, and it has to be given only to an authorized
OEM
person.
Yes.
I mean, somebody is fighting for their life,
right.
And if their gun doesn't work, they're not allowed. It's illegal for them to fix their own gun. Something
right.
Like this, right. So it brings up something similar. You built a pathway, but where you don't own the technology.
See,
or the core components.
Say India has 10% deficiency of energy in 2070. Any other technology, nuclear also is expensive,
right?
But any other technology would be far expensive than what you can actually hold today. So I'm not against exports per se, because a lot of people, on many fora.
Export is different from dependency. I mean.
Exactly. So if, like I said, there are 2 ways to export. One is you are creating an asset for yourself and the world. It's a different issue. But if your plain vanilla biomass is going to go out in millions of tons in the future, that much is deficient here thereafter. So that could have been used into 3 pathways for your energy sector, which you have let go.
Right.
It has got legal angles. Once you sign off for 20 years, 15 years, you'll go into litigation. So what I'm saying is, you can still export. You got a pain with parali burning, so you lay down the parameters to say export in A, Y, Z category for a fixed tenure. So currently you say, okay, you can't handle 500 million metric tons. So now you say, okay, for 10 years, you can go up to this. Then you also lay a stipulation that if you are a company doing, say, 1,000 crore business of biomass in India, so 10% worth you can export. Some logical conclusion which has got both the quotient that you're not primarily for only exports, you're building up the Indian ecosystem to make sure jobs and investments are happening here. That should be your core business. And then some percentage you can export. And by common sense, for that fixed tenure, then you review.
Right.
You review in the 8th year whether this 10-year has to be extended by another 10 years because we still can't handle it, we can afford to export.
Right.
But it can't be a open book for anybody to do a contract today. That is the only, sort of caution which I think, and like you said, if one day that bill has to be in the parliament at least, it may be debated later,
but
that
happens.
It should.
Yeah. Sir, coming about grassroots level, micro level, we spoke so much importance on the farmer or the landowners. And what are some of the challenges? Is it about capex? Or can SMEs? What roles do SMEs play?
No, you don't need so much of money in the upstream, right? So typical ballpark, maybe 100,000, biomass aggregation quantity metric tons should take straw, non-straw based at max about 2.753 million USD. The minor ones where you are talking about the farmers themselves, they need to be enabled in the upstream through a policy.
Standalone, let's say I want to get started in a small way
so if
in the bioenergy eco chain, value chain.
It doesn't cost much. So you want to set up a plant, I would recommend that you initially start with the learning lessons of a densification plant. You should be working on a range of nearly 1 million USD. You should be able to set up a very decent plant. People also set up at nearly half of that. I mentored two young people. One was from Coimbatore. You set up a plant, make something for crockery and cutlery, or you can even start from a beverage straw. And he sent his first container to a hotel in Dubai within a year, and with the profit, I'm putting 2 more. Even if you're an outsider, if you ethically maintain the relationship with the farmer and your cash flows are such that you're paying the farmer on time, 99% time your business will not fail because of feedstock availability.